am excited to share some Mote magic when it comes to using Mote in Google Slides and Google Docs for audio supports and for student creation, in Google Forms, and then also for feedback and a little bit in mail. So let's dive in. I don't want to overlook the power of simple audio supports or audio instructions. How many times as a teacher have you thought, man, if I could just clone myself? You find yourself repeating directions or telling a guest educator or somebody else in the room what your kids are going to be doing. And Mote allows you to leave that personal voice for students to listen back to over and over again. So on this slide, you'll see an example of audio instructions in Google Docs and then also in Google Classroom. And I want you to notice the real power of Mote is that students can even translate those instructions into their primary language. I actually just met with a teacher last week who has a student who speaks only French. He just moved in. And so this has been really powerful for all her students, but especially for that student. So we're going to go ahead and look at this in Docs. In order to add that audio recording, I'm going to highlight the text that I want to add audio to and then click the Add Hypermote button. Okay. And then you're simply going to record your instructions. So you're going to tell them a little bit about what they're going to do, what you want them to do, expectations, maybe what they'll do when they're done. And click done. And you're going to see that this is not only linked in, but a really cool card pops up so that they can see the transcriptions, play, and even translate. And you could edit that transcription if needed. I think I've seen audio supports used the most in Google Slides. Our teachers use Google Slides a lot, and I want to share 3 examples. This bottom example is a 2nd grade teacher. She was actually pulling small groups, but she needed everybody else to work independently. And they know when they see that purple speaker icon that that is their teacher leaving them instructions. So, so cool to see even 2nd graders being able to work independently because the teacher is able to voice in the instructions and the expectations. The picture next to this is a nonfiction article, but it's an interactive activity. So you'll notice the 1, 2, 3, 4, those are actually motes. You can change that purple speaker icon to be any image that you want to just by right-clicking and then doing replace image. So they were able to click on the numbers to listen to the text read aloud and continue on with their activity. And then the top slide, shout out to Mr. Baruman. He's a secondary teacher in our district who uses Mote really well. And I don't know if he had a guest educator on this day, but I do notice the students were going to be working independently on these slides. So if he did have a guest educator, it's so nice because they can hear from the teacher himself what they're supposed to be doing, or even if there was somebody else in the room supporting, but they would know the expectation and they could work through independently during class. And we know there's a lot of power in having the teacher's personal voice, the students getting to hear their teacher. With that said, you don't always have time to record your personal voice, especially if you have a big chunk of text, or if you're really just wanting to create a text-to-speech opportunity and just don't have time to voice that in. So one of Mote's latest upgrade allows you to generate motes based on text, and I'm going to demonstrate how this works. Okay, so I'm going to click the Mote recorder right here. And then this time I'm going to choose generate. Notice I have already copied these instructions, but this can be any text that I've copied. I'm going to paste it in. Okay, here's my correct text here. I'm going to paste that in and I'm going to click generate. And then you can see that it's going to take that text and turn it into a really nice Mote that I can insert on the slide. I can move it around anywhere I want to. And what I love about this is in Northwest ISD, we're one-to-one Chromebooks, and there are built-in select-to-speak and dictation features. With that said, students have to go in and enable those features, and then they have to make sure to use those features. And I just know that they're underutilized. However, when there's a purple speaker icon or just that audio text-to-speech right in front of them, they're more apt to use it and reap the benefits of it. So I really like how easy this is for the teacher, but also for the students to use as well. Okay, if you're not loving the Mote magic so far, I think you'll really like these time-saving tips in Google Forms. One of Mote's latest updates is there's a button that will allow you to turn your entire Google form into a form that can be read aloud. So it's that text-to-speech button. So you can see here, in the past, we would have used Mote to record the question using our voice and then record each individual answer choice. Now with just the click of a button, the entire form can be read aloud. So this is how it works. You click the Mote extension and then turn on that text-to-speech feature. You won't see it here, but when you go to preview, check out all of these different places. Every single place there's a question that can be played aloud for the students. I also love that you can turn it on and off based on each form. So if you want to have a copy of a form that's oral admin or read aloud, and then a copy of the form that's not, super easy to turn on, to turn off, and it just happens within seconds. Another way that I find Google Forms great for saving time is building relationships. We know that building relationships is key to students feeling comfortable, for students learning. If they respect the teacher and they have a connection with the teacher, they are much more willing to learn from that teacher. But it takes a lot of time, especially if you have 25 students, but maybe even 50. Maybe you have 7 periods a day, and it's really hard to get to know your students and remember those super special things about them. So this is a Google form that's a two-way street. So you'll see a little bit about the teacher. Students can play that back. They can hear the teacher's voice, and then they can even listen to some of the things the teacher likes. Maybe it's that they have a similar hobby, or they like the same restaurant and the same food. And then the student's going to fill this out. I love that the first question is to record their name, because I don't know how many times a student has told me their name, and then I'm like, oh, how did they pronounce that? But I don't want to say the wrong thing for the rest of the year. What's awesome is I will have this sheet for the entire year. So if I ever forget how to pronounce that name, I can come back to the sheet, play it back, and then I will remember how to pronounce that student's name. But same with what they enjoy. So this form says, are you involved in any activities? What do you like to do outside of school? What are you most excited about this year? And when I'm in the sheet, I can hover over each Mote and I'll see that card with the transcription, or I can play it out loud. And I can even, if the student maybe recorded it in a different language, I could even translate that for myself so that it breaks down that barrier and I can understand what the student is saying. This is a template, so feel free to snag this template and use it for yourself. I think it's a really great resource, especially starting back to school. If you like the Google Forms template, you might also like the Slides template as well. This one just breaks down a little bit of that, especially for younger students. They might not know what they enjoy or what they did this summer. And so it connects with emojis. So every student can find an emoji that they connect with, and then they use Mote to kind of expand on those emojis. You can see some of our teachers in our district, shout out Miss Baugh, used this last year, and it was a really good way for her to get to know her students. So you can see, once again, they say their name. So you have that pronunciation. 2 emojis to represent what they enjoy. So they drag those in, they use Mote to talk about it, and then they drag the Mote to that circle icon. You are more than welcome to customize this template by changing out emojis. Maybe the age of your kids is a little bit different. Whatever you think that your students would like, you could even change the questions. But this is a template that you can take and customize. So feel free to grab a copy just by clicking on this image. All right, I think the biggest time saver with Mote is feedback. And I have to stop and give a little shout to the Mote Learning Zone. This is a great place for teachers to get inspired because there are so many posts and examples of how to use Mote in different content areas for different grade levels and for all different topics. So 2 of the articles there we're going to talk about a little bit today. One of them is how to give better feedback in less time, and the other is on-the-go feedback with the Mote iOS app. So I'm excited to talk about these, but make sure you check out the other ones on the Mote Learning Zone as well. And before diving into those 2 topics, I want to just remember the value of a simple voice comment. So this could be commenting on student work, but this is an example of a lesson plan. I find that our teachers enjoy using Mote in lesson plans because they can communicate with a team or I guess educator or anybody that's going to be delivering the lesson. And I love this quote from Psychology Today. It says, people are more sensitive to tone than the explicit content of spoken or written language. And Mote really allows you to avoid confusion by speaking and providing that encouraging, positive tone. When people just see instructions, they don't really know, but whenever you're able to use your voice, it clears up a lot of confusion, and it's just such a good resource. All right, so saving time and feedback. This is Miss Sproles, a 5th grade teacher. She's amazing, but she's grading essays here. And as a previous English teacher, I know that grading essays takes a lot of time because you're leaving lots of notes. You're trying to convey everything you want the student to get from, and you want them to know that you've really read their work after their hard work. I also know one of the worst things is to mark up an essay with a bunch of red ink. The student sees the red ink, they are immediately defeated, and they really don't take much from the feedback. So Mote allows the student to hear their teacher's encouragement, hear their voice, but also take their constructive feedback as well. So in the private comments, she just left a Mote here that the student can play back and really take the feedback from the teacher. Now, one of the best ways to save time is to utilize the Mote book. So you'll notice if you long press on the Mote icon, it will pull up the Mote book, and these are saved Motes. So you know that as a teacher, if I'm grading 100 essays, I'm probably going to find myself repeating some of the same feedback. Even though it's personalized, I bet more than one student forgot to cite their sources, or forgot to add good transition words, or forgot to use good punctuation. So I can have Motes in my Mote book that I can reuse for different students who need that feedback. So we're going to show how this works. You can see that when I edit my transcript of a Mote, I'm going to go ahead and click that star to add it to my Mote book. And I can give it a title so it can easily be used again. And then on my next Mote, I long press. It's going to pull up my Mote book. I can search or just find alphabetically. And then it's like that student has personal feedback of me saying that same voice note without me needing to re-record again. So really big time saver for teachers. And it allows you to give personal feedback that's also timely and specific. All right. I love this quote by John Hattie. Students want personalization. We know, for example, when teachers give feedback to the whole class, every kid knows it's not about them and they tune out. And ideally, as teachers, we want to leave feedback in the walls of our building. We don't want to do this outside of school, but the reality is you're probably going to end up grading some papers while you're at a soccer game, or you're waiting in your car for your kids to get done with some kind of rehearsal, or you're in the doctor's office. So you can be looking at your students' work, and with the Mote iOS app, you can actually record a quick voice note, and it will automatically copy that voice note so it can be pasted in classroom. So you can see here, I'm going to review my students' work. I'm kind of looking through what they turned in, and then I'm going to toggle over to that Mote app. I'm going to record my feedback for the student. And it's going to be automatically copied to the clipboard so that I can come back just by toggling over to Google Classroom and paste in. And they still have that Mote card that can be translated and listened back to. So great for on the go. Maybe you even have a student that just turned in late work and you want to give them personal feedback without going back to your computer. It's right there, and you've got it handy with the Mote app. All right, Jordana's going to talk a little bit more about Mote Mail, because there's a lot of power in just simply using Mote in email. But these are some ways to provide automatic mail using an extension called Autocrat in Google Sheets. Here's 2 templates for inspiration. They can obviously be customized, but what we have here is a positive parent email template. So this is set up so that the teacher can make positive contact with each parent in a timely way. We know that's so important at the beginning of the year for parents to feel seen and heard and know that you really have connected with their child. So in a Google Sheet, or you can even have a Google form that feeds into a Google Sheet, you can leave the student a Mote and just copy in that Mote link that you have from the extension, and it's going to automatically pull it into this template here. So this one says, I'm proud of Brittany, and this is why. You can actually, in Autocrat, set that up as a link so that it's clickable and they can listen to it right on the page. So simply by filling out that form and adding a Mote, all these emails will be automatically sent to parents. I don't then have to make the document. I don't have to send the email. Autocrat does all that for you. And these templates are linked in, but also on that Mote Learning Zone, a full tutorial is linked in, and it will show you how to do this. Maybe you're a coach or an administrator. This walkthrough template is the same thing, but maybe you're walking through a classroom and you just want a teacher to have that instant feedback and to feel good about your time in their room. This is a walkthrough template you could use as well. All these are customizable. And then as we kind of enter into fall, Thanksgiving will be here before we know it. This is another form that is set up with Autocrat where students can show their gratitude. It could be teachers too, but I love, there was a 4th grade class at one of my campuses that did this over Thanksgiving, and the student actually went in, they shared a teacher's email, they recorded a Mote of something they were thankful for, either a teacher or an adult or a family member. And what was cool is just so many emails were going out with positive communication that included Motes. So can you imagine being like a parent or a teacher and getting an email from a student just expressing their gratitude is just so, so powerful, and something that teacher or parent could hold on to. What's also cool is this was a bilingual campus. So a lot of the students would record in Spanish, but if the teacher wanted to listen to it in English, they could. Or if the student recorded in English at school, but their family was Spanish speaking, the family could then play that back in Spanish. So a great way to break down barriers, and just a really, really fun way to use Mote. And as a reminder, all of these templates and all of these resources can be found at tinyurl.com/MoteMagic.